Well, hello and welcome. I'm Wendy Rose Williams, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast with my co-host, Gregg Kirk. And I am a past life energy healer. I help people release energy that no longer serves them, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, both physical and emotional, as well as stuck energies. And my website is my full name. It's wendyrosewilliams.com. To learn more about me and Waking Up Spiritually, you're welcome to listen to us as a podcast, but we do have a website as well as a YouTube channel. And our website is wakingupspiritually.com. So you're welcome to check it out. And there you can see the podcast as a visual podcast. So today is an exciting day. We're calling it, what are we calling it, Gregg? Our third anniversary, take 3.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it over to Gregg to introduce himself and introduce today's topic and kind of the funny things that have been happening.
Yes, I'm Gregg Kirk. I do energy work and also help patients with chronic illness, Lyme disease, and so forth. I do in-person sessions from everything from talk therapy to energy healing to remote sessions through Zoom or through the phone. And I can be found at I have a website like Wendy that is my name as well. It's spelled GREGGKIRK.com. So I also run weekly events like online group healing circles and fire circles in the Connecticut area where I live. So if you would like to inquire more, you can click the event link, or you can actually click the book an appointment link if you would like to book an appointment with me. So yes, Wendy, today is our third anniversary. We gave it a shot yesterday, being our third anniversary. Twice. We had some technical issues, not sure exactly what happened. Zoom seemed to be crashing every 20 minutes or so. And we just decided to give it a shot today. And then we had some green screen issues, but no,
I learned do not wear a green shirt in front of a green screen because you're then literally a talking head. It was a very fun visual effect.
Cool. It might have freaked out some new watchers or listeners. What kind of spirits are you having on this Waking Up Spiritually show? So yes, Wendy and I have been doing this for almost exactly 3 years now. And I'm going to pull up share a PowerPoint screen with you all here. And Wendy, if you want to tell people where they can find us.
Sure. So you can find us at wakingupspiritually.com and click on the broadcast link. And there you'll see a wonderful index and description of the programs and what each one is about. And if you are new and today's your first time, fantastic time to choose to join us, because today will be a recap of the previous year. And we have over 50 episodes, lots of tips and techniques, things to do with energy management, past lives, lots of things, some meditations, things to help with healing. We're just here to help you with that spiritual awakening and to normalize some things that can feel very off-putting, isolating, crazy making. So we just want to be that helping hand that both of us needed and benefited from when we were waking up spiritually. So that's why we're here for you.
Wendy. So today is our third year anniversary. Like I said, actually 2 years ago, May 8th, we did our not 2 years ago, a year ago, May 8th, we did our 2-year anniversary episode. During that time, the year prior, Wendy and I were very busy. We were doing episodes every 2 weeks. And I remember thinking, how are we going to come up with topics every 2 weeks? But we never ran out of topic ideas.
Because the guides told us.
Exactly. The hits just kept coming. So it was really great. We decided for the first 2 years not to have any guests. And this is the first year we decided, all right, we'll have a few guests every now and then, if appropriate. So that was a decision that we made, this year. And we'll get into some details about how that happened. And we had we've had 2 guests this year. But we went to kind of an unusual thing happened as we went to once a month episodes at that interval, our traffic went up. I don't know if it was related to it in any way, or just Wendy and I are becoming world famous now, I guess. But actually, I think it's our individual activities. Wendy, you've been on you've done interviews on some other shows, so have I, and people get curious about what we're doing individually, and then they come and check us out at wakingupspiritually.com. So, like Wendy said earlier, this is the first time you're seeing us either on YouTube or the podcasts or through our website. This is a perfect episode to kind of use as an index to check out. We're going to describe the episodes that we did over the past year. So, a year ago, we did the second year anniversary, but we also did, that was the last month that we actually did 2 episodes in one, and we did a spiritual healing modalities episode on May 25th that went into details about modalities like Reiki, theta healing, past life regression, Akashic record reading, astrology and numerology, human design, and intuitive eye reading. Wendy and I went through, if you're curious about all that stuff, go check out that episode. And we got into, some reasons of what causes physical, emotional, and spiritual infirmities. We got into the roots of all that. What are the roots of illness? What are the roots of imbalances? And we kind of gave an overview of each of those modalities and how they can help. Right, Wendy? Remember that one?
And that was a lot of fun because many people are familiar with Reiki healing and chakras and just being able to tune into your own life force energy, or working with a Reiki master to help you do that. But we got into some things that were a little bit more esoteric or unusual, like intuitive eye readings. And the eye reading that I had was just so helpful and surprising to me. And it really taught me a lot about myself and my interactions with other people. And same thing with using numerology, the fact that you can work with a spiritual numerologist to specifically tell you what you have karma for. Yes, we're moving to the point where karma is a thing of the past, but we've been coming out of a system where karma was there as unbalanced energies and as a teaching tool that was available. So for me to be able to learn from a spiritual numerologist what my karma was for, big hint, if you're not sure what in your life is really difficult or challenging, you probably have had karma in that area. So it just was a lot of fun to go through some of those things, as well as human design. I had never heard of human design, and then had a reading from a client of mine who was a human design practitioner. And again, I just learned some things that were really practical and helpful.
Well, the next month, in June 20th of 2022, we did our most watched episode ever, Paranormal Experiences. This was an episode Wendy and I agreed upon, put together. We pre-planned it. That's one of the things we don't really mention here is Wendy and I don't rehearse anything that we do. Sometimes you can maybe tell, but usually not. We're just tuned into the guides. We're doing our thing, and we create a deck, but we roll with it. This episode, we did something a little different. We reached out to our listeners and asked listeners to give us any photographs or videos or any signs of paranormal, supernatural, UAP or UFO experiences that they had, and they did not disappoint. We had phenomenal orb shots, lenticular cloud photos. These are clouds that look like flying saucers. A lot of people think they are actually a cloaking device for flying saucers. We had some really spectacular shots of those, firsthand UFO shots, and that was that. And some of the best orb videos I've ever seen from one of our listeners, who just hundreds of orbs appearing at once, almost like a waterfall. Incredible. If you want to see something really cool, check out that episode either on YouTube or go to our website. It's not recommended to as a podcast, because basically it's just Wendy and I saying, "Oh, look, isn't that cool? I've never seen anything like that."
You want to see it. You want
Yeah,
to see Paranormal Experiences. The episode date is June 20th, 22. That's one you really want to see. So
exactly.
seeing is believing, as they say.
Yes. Um, then the next month, July 18th, 2022, that was an episode I reached out to Wendy and asked her how she felt about it, because it was an episode that I started gathering some information from an online group healing circle I run. A lot of steady channeled information was coming in. That was really solid information that so I just did a presentation on that. Basically, the information was, what it kind of fit into an episode we did a while ago. What's your role in a chaotic world? Or, what's your life's purpose? It went in between the lanes of that, basically saying that our role here as human beings are to teach and experience love with every single opportunity. And that, if you're worrying about what your role is in this chaotic world, it's the guidance was tend to your garden. In other words, tend to your own energy. But in every interaction, the recommendation was every interaction that you have with everyone, no matter how difficult, it's just to experience love. Have somebody walk away uplifted by an experience, that even if it's just a brief experience. And basically the overview of that was, this is how you start the revolution of love. So it's like, a trigger point starting a chain reaction, or if you want to look at it as like a virus, a positive virus of good feelings and love feelings. So that was a cool episode. If you want to check that out, how to start the revolution of love.
Absolutely. And don't we all need more of that uplift? And I loved that episode. That one was on my birthday. So that one was just kind
Oh,
of fun that we actually podcast that day on my birthday. And what a perfect topic.
right.
So
So the next month, it's interesting that for the past 2 years, Wendy and I have done an episode, a broadcast on August 8th, 8/8. We did one the year before. And what is going on during that time? It's the Lionsgate Portal opens. It's a opportunity for powerful manifestations to happen. And so we did a whole episode the year before on just the Lionsgate Portal. Last year, we took a bit of time talking about that as well. But the rest of the episode was some personal stories, and Wendy and I both told about unusual healings, many of them related to us. It's the miracles that we've experienced through healings. And in one situation, I talked about a patient that I'd helped who had had a miracle. But Wendy, you talked about your profound experiences, your near-death experience.
yes, absolutely. And when you've had the opportunity to be helped by angels in the way that I was back when I had the NDE, when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, who's now 25, it was obviously just life changing. I mean, it just really altered everything. It enhanced everything for me. And it took me many years to unpack, which is typical with near death experiences because you don't really have a frame of reference for it. So it was just really, really profound. And the Lionsgate I see as being a heart chakra opening. Yes, it's a healing opportunity, but it's just a big deal when that comes up astrologically as part of Earth's astrology, 8/8 every year. So it is something to pay attention to, because a lot of people will have uh, meditation lions will be coming up and they're not sure why. They're like, what's with all the lions? Or they'll have dreams about lions. I'd had my own Lionsgate healing quite a few years before. It was pretty humorous. And what it was as simple as I dreamed that I was walking across the parking lot at Costco and I had to park far from the door. Come on, haven't we all had that experience? Because it's busy. And I ended up taking my measure of this big, magnificent male lion and just was able to appreciate him, keep my distance, look at it, just really admire the majesty and the power, but just walk right on by. But then I became concerned in the dream about my daughter, who I'd taken with me to Costco, because I knew if there was one male lion, there was probably a female lion around too. Not always, but, and of course I went back to check on her because she'd gotten so far behind me in the parking lot, and she was just rolling on the pavement, wrestling with the female lion because she was not enjoying her Lionsgate opening moment. And just was really, really arguing with her feminine self, whereas I was coming more into balance with my masculine self and just taking a good measure of each other, but able to walk right on by.
Mm.
So interesting. It's just a very interesting phenomena that goes on around that time. And again, it's a heart chakra opening, healing portal opportunity where all types of things can heal at that moment.
Right. So in August of last year, we did an episode on raising your vibration and keeping it there. So we've done some other episodes on energy management, how to raise your vibration, but keeping it there was kind of the main point. We revisited the idea about how to get your consciousness up through paying attention to your state of consciousness, mastering your emotions, balancing your ego, and transmuting low vibes, like fear and anger. But then we gave a bunch of practices on how to stay high vibe, and even getting down into details of certain foods to eat. For instance, foods prepared by human hands are of a higher vibration versus foods that are produced by machines, and just all kinds of different ideas to keep, down to that level. So obviously you knew we were going to talk about meditative practice or some other way to transmute low energies and keep your energies high. But even we got down into the level of staying away from devices that emit radiation, like your phone or your computer or even television. But even getting down into some ideas about food as well.
Yes. Heavily processed foods, salami and pepperoni are not your friend.
Right.
So yes, those Lunchables really
right, the worst.
Concern me.
Yes.
But yes, and I think that episode, Gregg, it just tied in perfectly with, we had done one or more episodes on just daily spiritual practices of how to keep your vibration at the level where you want it to be. Like in gymnastics, they say, but did you stick the landing? Nothing counts in gymnastics if you don't stick the landing.
Right.
So I think that's what the point of raising your vibration and keeping it there.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean we don't ever bobble and have a really bad day or bad encounter, but you just have to clear it and ground yourself and recenter yourself and start over again.
Right. So the next episode we did in next month in October of last year was what happens when you wake up spiritually before others. So this is like a pivotal episode of what we're all about. Obviously we created this group to help patients wake up spiritually, but we'd never addressed the fact of what if none of your friends are? What happens to you then? And it can be a lonely time. And you also start to notice how you're changing as a person. Some of the pursuits some of the things you used to watch, media wise, you're not interested anymore. You're interested in other things. Your friends start to shift. Your friend set starts to shift. It can be a strange time. So we talk about that, how to deal with it, and to see part of a spiritual growth is to notice the differences. Obviously there's some friends you need to stay away from if they're draining your energy, but can you still maintain friendships with others? Part of what you're doing, waking up spiritually, is you're trying to learn self-mastery and compassion. Can you still maintain some relationships even though things are different? So
Right, absolutely. And Gregg, you just hit the nail on the head, because waking up spiritually, it can be such a profound experience, such an exciting experience, but it absolutely can be very isolating. as the family and friends fall away, or question our choices, question why we're so different. Uh, and they or we can be really questioning our agenda or even our sanity of what is wrong with us because we're so different. Because yes, it's just such, for some people it's truly a 180. For some people I think it's a 360, only you don't end up back where you started. But my point is, it can be really profound change that can come up very quickly. Often it is via a near death experience, or it's via a major loss, like the loss of a job, a relationship, one's health, whatever it might be. But oftentimes the guides do need to shake us to wake us. So, because guess what? It's nice having everything go along at this even keel and being very comfortable and complacent. And we sometimes aren't really on our path or aren't really self-actualizing. So there can be that shaking going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next episode we did, and now I'm noticing, I don't know what happened. Talk about weird glitches. I didn't notice this yesterday, but the slide is incorrect. So we're missing a couple episodes. Luckily, I've taken some notes. So the next episode we did in November was using your discernment. So this was one of my favorite episodes we ever did. It's one of our most listened to episodes, and some discussion started on YouTube as a result. Using your discernment, what is discernment? It's the ability to comprehend information in a non-judgmental way, always being open to new input of information. So true discernment, we talked about, it's not just using the brain in your head, it's using the brain in your heart and the brain in your gut. Using those three brains to kind of filter out when as new information comes in. I went down into a lot of details of talking about how our information through media has been polluted by a couple of different things, like the Telecom Act of 1934, the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, and the Fairness Doctrine of 1949. All those have been changed. So now it's kind of a free-for-all in terms of the information that comes in. The point being is our discernment is needed now more than ever. So you remember that episode, Wendy?
Yes, absolutely. And particularly with your background in media, Gregg, I learned quite a few things I was not familiar with.
Yeah, some scary things actually, that it's actually the Smith-Mundt Act was basically an act put together saying it's not okay for a government to influence or give information to the media. That's a major tenet of our society is, the fourth estate is the media. We're supposed to have a free and independent media. Mm-hmm. But that act was modernized in 1996 so that much of what we get today is media influenced by the government. So the other word for it is propaganda. So whether you're aware of it or not, a good portion of our news media is influenced by the government. So how about that? And being a background in journalism, I was in journalism prior to, or right around 1996, actually. And so, yeah, it's crazy times. Anyway, the next month was in December of last year, managing energy leaks. So this was an episode where we talked about how do you know when you have an energy leak, and what are the causes of various leaks, from spiritual to energetic to mental, emotional, to even physical ones. And then we talked about ways to protect yourself from these leaks. And Wendy, I believe, I don't know if that was one where we actually did a meditation, but in a couple of the episodes like that, we tend to do either Wendy or I will do a meditation at the end of it just to help, clear. But managing energy leaks. We, as Wendy mentioned, we've done episodes in past years where we talk about energy management. We've also talked about, attachments and things that you can get spiritually. But yeah, that was managing energy leaks in December of last year.
Yeah, energy leaks are a big deal. If you are feeling flatter than a pancake and you're at the point where you're doing, a Western medicine workup, I mean, that can be appropriate to check your thyroid, check your adrenals, but what may be going on is very much at an energetic level as well as at the physical level, because things show up last at the physical level. So we hope to be managing them earlier than that at the energy level and at the emotional level and the spiritual level, so that we don't have our fine temples, the temple that's our body, just crashing. So that was something that I experienced in a really big way, was just to have, and it wasn't depression. I mean, depression can certainly cause people to be very low energy, but that wasn't what I had going on, and it wasn't the thyroid either. So it was a complex series of things that I was able to figure out working with various healers. And then a naturopath put her finger on it of physically what it was. And it was adrenal fatigue. So it's just, it's one of the top, I'd say, elusive diagnoses that comes up in Western medicine, is just overly tired, exhausted. And sure, you have to look at reality of, are you running too hard 16 hours a day? The body's not designed to do that. We need rest and relaxation and downtime and things not being scheduled. And that's not really what our society supports. Our society supports doing, versus we're human beings. And somehow that got crossed out. Became do along the way for, I think, a lot of us. So yes, that one really spoke to my heart, Gregg.
Yeah. Well, we started the new year in January with our first interview with somebody we had consulted with the year before, new astrologist and numerologist Debbie Buss from the United Kingdom, helped us put together last year's January episode about astrology and numerology for 2022. This year, we just decided to interview her. And she's a lovely person. She was a great interview. And she had some really fascinating things to project for the year, some good things for people who are going through spiritual awakenings and who are healers. It's a time of healing. It's a time of spiritual awakening, is what she said. I learned about things that I didn't know about, like Pluto return. Like Pluto's like on an 82-year cycle, and it goes through this return. And we talked about things like Mercury being in retrograde and other planets being in retrograde and how they affect us. But what were your recollections of that episode,
Well,
Wendy?
I just thought it was really powerful, and I enjoyed having Debbie on a lot. She's actually quoted, and she helped me look at, because it's amazing what a talented astrologer and or numerologist can do for you. It's got past life implications, for instance. So my closing chapter of my upcoming book, Regression Healing 2, Joe and Marilyn, Debbie is the astrologer who helped me look at a past life, and because I knew the death date in that previous life, and it's my most recent past life. So we then were able to look at that and compare it to my my date of birth in this lifetime, and kind of look at, you could actually see the baton being passed of what was going on astrologically in one lifetime, and how I'm batting cleanup in this lifetime on finishing up what didn't get finished. So for me, as a past life regressionist, it was just kind of fascinating to be able to see those sorts of implications. So, and Gregg, as you said, it seems like we skipped over a couple. So do you want to talk about the interview with Catherine and Clement that we did?
Yeah. Actually, the way I'm looking at it now, I don't know how things got, every episode actually is on the slide. It's just got moved out of order. I don't know how, but
Okay.
Yeah, I just noticed that. So I don't know what it was going on with this episode, but everything's under
To keep us
control.
on our toes.
Yes, exactly. No,
Everything's under control, meaning nothing is supposed to be.
right,
Just go with the
right.
energy flow.
Yep. Yep. No, so the next episode was the power of manifestation. So now we're at the top of, the second column, if you're looking at the slide, the power of manifestation. That was a really cool episode where we talked about what actually is manifestation. A lot of people talk about it. If you follow Esther Hicks or Wayne Dyer or Joe Dispenza, all three of those are kind of the big masters talking about how to get what you want in life. And so we gave some really detailed tips on, it's a great episode. If you're interested in manifestation, we don't just talk about, all right, well, just think about what you want and you'll get it. We literally get down into the details of literally talking about the 17 seconds of holding the emotion.
Vibrating with joy.
Yes, because that is what will bring it back. So that vibration will call back your manifestation like a dog. But you have to be at that vibration for it to come back. So, but as long as you hold it for 17 seconds, according to Esther Hicks, it's the law of the universe. It has to happen. And we talked about in detail about the manifestation itself being an actual thing that gets created. So it's not a wish you're putting out there. You're actually creating something on the energetic side and then letting it go. So it's a bit of an act of faith. And then knowing you can call it back like a dog whistle as long as your vibration's up. And it usually comes back in a way not like you had completely thought of. It usually comes back in a much better way, because it gets bigger and better. And the whole point of is setting your intention is to make sure the manifestation is very general. It's not like I need to pay off my mortgage and my car. No, that's so limiting. If you set it for abundance, just wide open abundance, it could be, you could get monetary abundance, but you could have an abundance of friends. You could have an abundance of opportunities. So these are some great suggestions. It's one of our better episodes, I think. It was a lot of fun to do. So check that one out. That was on February 6th, 2023.
I have a recent example on that, and I moved recently, and I was planning to move to Eastern Washington in the Spokane area, near to where I will be going permanently. But I just surrendered that to my guides and said, what's the best way for me to do this? Because I knew I was going to need to move twice. So it was, well, do I go ahead and get an apartment and, buy furniture and then end up moving it again? Or can I possibly find a furnished place? Is it better to put things just in a pod and put it in storage? So, I had some caveats around it, but I also just let it go. And the minute I did that, it got so much better than I could have ever imagined. And the loop and the twirl to it was, here I am living in Western Idaho. So I'm just over the border from Spokane. I'm about 35, 40 minutes from where I will be moving to. But guess where I am? I am in a lakeside cabin, fully furnished lakeside cabin, view of the lake. It's private entry to the lake with lovely, lovely trees all around me and wonderful hosts who are just taking care of things. And it's just so restful after years of having enjoyed being a homeowner and taking care of the big house and the big property and helping my mother do the same with hers. So it's like, wow, I never would have come up with, oh, I'd like a lakeside cabin for the summer in Idaho. Just
right. Yeah.
It wasn't on my radar. So I think it's that art of manifesting enough from your heart and from your purpose and aligning with your purpose, and then letting it go and just seeing what comes up. Because the minute I looked on this website called furnishedfinder.com, there came the lake cabin.
Right. It always comes to you bigger and better than you had imagined. That's
right.
What's so cool. Right. So the next month, March, we did our second interview of the year with author and channeler Catherine Ann Clement. She was a huge, I was a fan, a fan of hers from reading the Anna Grandmother of Jesus and Anna Voice of the Magdalene's book. She told about how she was not involved in the first book, but she was involved in the second one. And it's a fascinating story about how she got involved. Even more fascinating was how she and co-author Claire Hartsong channeled various characters from the Bible, from Yeshua, Jesus, to Mary of Bethany, to Anna, grandmother of Mary, Mother Mary. Fascinating stuff, and funny. One of the stories that she tells, I don't want to give too much away because I really think you would enjoy listening to the episode. So that was on March 13th, 2023. She talks about how the characters were coming through. These are actual, spirits of people who are in the Bible. They were coming through, and then they were all going to the bathroom because word got out beyond the veil. Like, they were fascinated by toilet paper, the toilet itself, the whole thing. The word got out, like, you got to
They hadn't experienced it.
No, it was fascinating. And then another character was really fascinated with an area rug, an Oriental rug. And, the person said, hey, I had a rug like this when I was alive. So really, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you can't make up. That's fascinating to me. And some of these
so genuine.
Yes, exactly. Very down to earth.
It's not stuffy and formal. It's just, there can just be a lot of humor to it.
Right. But I love how word got out on the other side. Like, hey, when you come through, you got to have this experience of going to the bathroom. It's pretty cool. Toilet paper stuff it's a newfangled thing. Anyway, very cool. So then Wendy and I in April of this year, we decided I reached out again. I started collecting more paranormal experience photos and videos and so forth. So we did it again because it was so fun. And this episode was just as fascinating, just as popular, and crazy shots that we've gotten. More lenticular clouds, more UFO and UAP stuff, fairy shots of fairies, shots of orbs, auras, and more. There's a shot that I have never seen anything like, of a woman taking a shot of herself, a selfie of her. Behind her is an eclipse, and it does not look like an eclipse. Remember, Wendy, that's where it looks like there's a tear in the time-space continuum with rebar behind it. It's crazy. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And the reason it was called First Viewing, we've never done an episode this way, but it was the first time I didn't participate with Gregg in creating our content and the PowerPoint together, because normally we volley that back and forth. And I hadn't seen any of it. So we did that purposefully for fun, to just
reaction.
then kind of react to it and to just hear what my guides wanted to say, because it was just new information to me.
That was a lot of fun. I hope we do another one, because I think the viewers and the listeners like it too. Again, it's one of those episodes where I don't know why.
You want to see it.
You want to see it. You want to watch the video of it, or you go to our website. But that said, it still has gotten a lot of listens on the podcast, which is kind of crazy.
So that was April 10th, 23, yes. First viewing of Paranormal Experiences.
Yes.
And perhaps you'd like to submit some things to us, which you can do via the website, or please join our Facebook group, which is called Waking Up Spiritually. So there's just different ways to connect with us and give us suggestions. Give us suggestions for topics. What would be most helpful to you? What are you enjoying? What do you want to learn more about? What's challenging? What could you use some tools and techniques for? And we're here to be of service.
Absolutely. So here's just a quick slide showing you what our more watched and viewed and clicked episodes were. So on our website, No surprise, First Viewing of Paranormal Experiences is our most clicked episode. Next to that is Astrology and Numerology from 2023, and then The Power of Manifestation. So that's on our website, wakingupspiritually.com. That's the most traffic we have for
That's
those
the top
episodes.
3.
Yeah. Now on YouTube, Paranormal Experiences, our original episode, is far and away the biggest viewed video. And then second is Using Your Discernment, which I mentioned. And then, of course, third is First Viewing of Paranormal Experiences. So I think we're onto something here. I think people really enjoy the paranormal experience stuff. And then in podcast, Using Your Discernment is the most listened to podcast, and that makes sense. And then What Happens When You Wake Up Spiritually Before Others is runner up, and then for some reason First Viewing of Paranormal Experiences is the third most listened to of this year. So
Well, thanks for pulling those statistics, and thank you so much to our wonderful listeners. And we both have some listener appreciation gifts for you, and I'd be happy to gift a free audiobook copy of my first book, Regression Healing 1, The Huntsman, the Lord High Mayor, and the World War II Soldier. And that book was a profound past life regression session that I facilitated for an important soulmate, and just the things that happened in that session were really, really unusual and profound for both of us. So please let me know if you'd like to be entered in the raffle for that, and let me know by tomorrow, June 2nd at noon Pacific, by going to my website, and the final tab on my website at wendyrosewilliams.com is the contact tab. And I will be awarding that audiobook on Monday, June 5th. And it's available on Amazon, and it's available on Audible. So it's also created as an audiobook.
Nice. Well, not to be left out, I also am offering some listener appreciation gifts. So anybody who reaches out to me on my website through the contact link, or you can actually email me directly at Gregg, gregg.kirk@gmail.com. So I will give away the free books and or free admission to which either one you want, a membership to the online group Healing Circle that I run every Sunday, or a copy of my book, The Gratitude Curve, which goes into the details of my journey through Lyme disease and how that ended up being a spiritual experience. And the reason I actually became grateful for the struggle that I went through, which was death-defying. I almost died from it. And I wanted to die actually at some points. But now I'm so grateful in how it helped awaken me and change my life for the better.
Fantastic. And some announcements from me. As I mentioned, recently moved. So here's my sweet little rental lakefront cabin out in western Idaho. And there's Henley, my pup, welcoming me home. And we went through quite the move. We were guided to move as a family, so it really was the whole family, the whole immediate family. So I moved, my daughter and my son-in-law moved, and my mother moved. So we moved from 3 homes to 3 new homes in 3 new areas in 8 days.
Wow.
So that was very much meant to happen. There was just a lot of angelic assistance for it, or you don't have something like that all come together in such a big way. And Gregg mentioned we've both had the good fortune to be on some wonderful podcasts as guests recently. And I was on Next Level Soul on April 22nd, right as I was getting into the real nitty-gritty of the move. So I included the link to that on YouTube. And it was a conversation with host Alex Ferrari regarding my near-death experiences and important soul connection and how I got on my life path. which was not the most, shall we say, grace-filled path of all time. There was a lot of kicking and screaming involved. And I'm just so glad to be where I am, but there definitely were some twists and turns in that. And being on that interview has been such an amazing experience for me because of the response from people. And my apologies to people because I've been so out of touch and I have not been able to respond to prospective clients and people that have been contacting me. What I needed to do as a result of that interview was to change some things in my business processes that will benefit everyone. People have been asking me for a long time, can't I self-schedule? Can't I just book with you, Wendy, via your website? And I didn't have a way to offer that. Can't I just put in my credit card or my information online? And I've now been creating all that. And what's coming soon as I get that software all up and tested and running, is there will be some live Q&A group Zoom calls, tentatively as early as next week, June 6th, 7th, and 8th is what I'm working toward, to be able to bring people together as a result of that interview that have been patiently waiting since April for me to get back in business. I wasn't expecting this move to be such a leveler, but everything happens the way it's supposed to. And if you'd be so kind as to check the events tab on my website, I put in the link for that, or you can just go to the website, wendyrosewilliams.com, click on events, or join my mail list on the contact final tab. And then we will get in touch. And again, my profound apologies for the delay that has been going on with that. But we will have that automated scheduling and payment processors. And you may notice, if you're an existing client, you may notice some new types of appointment reminders and be wondering, why am I getting all these reminders from Wendy? That's me getting this new system up. So thank you for being tolerant if you get reminded more than once, or have some goofy stuff going on, because that's what it's like when you start new software. But it's all for the good. And Henley and I are just thrilled to be out learning what it's like to live in a remote part of Idaho. So we're really enjoying being out at Hauser Lake. Post Falls is the nearest big city to us, but I'm learning everything's at least 15 to 20 minutes away. And I'm not used to that, having been in a Seattle metro area for so long. So it's all good, and feeling really grateful for it.
Awesome. Well, come join us June 12th at 5:30 p.m. East Coast time for our next Waking Up Spiritually podcast. Our guest will be Robert Snow, the author of Portrait of a Past Life Skeptic. You can check us out and on Facebook in our Waking Up Spiritually group. You need to be invited to that. So you request an invitation. And you can also check us out on our website, wakingupspiritually.com. Click on the broadcast links, as we mentioned earlier in this episode, to check out all of our episodes, not just in the past year, but from the beginning of time, which was 3 years ago for us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just do a search for Waking Up Spiritually. And then, of course, rate and review us on the iTunes apps. Again, searching for us on Waking Up Spiritually. You can check me out at my website, greggkirk.com. That's greggkirk.com, or Wendy on her website, wendyrosewilliams.com.
And one final note about Bob Snow being our guest on June 12th. Go ahead and look for a used copy of his book on Amazon and read it before June 12th, because he has a compelling story. We did an episode on our favorite books of all time, and this was one of mine. So I get to have my fangirl moment, just like you did with Catherine Ann Clement, Gregg. And he is a retired police captain and police private or investigator. And to have someone like that go for a past life regression, and he went to it on a dare. He went to it to prove it was bohunky. And to hear his story of how he then obsessively researched his own past life to rule it out. And instead, what he found, but because of his detective skills, because this was pre internet days when this happened, and also because of Bob's writing skills, Bob was already a published writer and a talented writer. So this was not his first book. He's written about, I believe, 20 books and has been published in a lot of big name magazines. So just that combination, but to hear this, to hear it in his own voice, it's pretty great. So please, hope you'll join us then, June 12th.
Very, very cool. Well, Wendy, open the virtual bottle of champagne. Here's to another 3 years.
Yes, absolutely. And
Thank you
just
for doing this with me for 3 years.
my absolute pleasure, Gregg. And thank you to our listeners. And again, we just would like to help you normalize and help you get your feet on the ground and help get your energy clear so that you can really, really enjoy life and embrace your purpose and just feel more peace in your life and more love and more joy. Because that's what Gregg and I have been blessed with through the journeys that we've been on for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So we want to offer a helping hand to help you do that too. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.